What's up? This is episode 2 of Flippin Tin. I am Jacob Bratz with Longleaf Reptilia.
I am Sky Williams of Hail the Scales and Peach Throat Passion. This is episode 2, baby. Y'all
Yes.
ready or what?
Very excited. Everybody's kind of been honest. When you do another episode? When you do another episode? We're doing another episode. So we're here. We're live. At least I hope we're live. I'm still figuring out all this shit, but it seems like there's 3 people there. So
Sick.
I think we're good. And somebody already dipped, so that's awesome.
We're like, fuck these guys.
But yeah, this is episode 2. We're super stoked. Glad to be here.
Hell yeah.
Thank you to anybody that's going to pop in here live and join us. We've been planning this for a while and trying to figure out what we're going to do. So, and Meteoric Serpent said, can confirm you're live.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
still figuring this out. I went into the private chat section. There's nothing there. And then I went to comments and I see, okay, I see now. It all makes sense.
Yeah, you got to go to the comments.
Yeah, I'm bad at this. But yes, we're here by the skin of our teeth. But
we're going to make it, bro. Sorry, I was getting some of the content pulled up, some of the questions from the fellow listeners.
And Jack's in the house.
Jack,
what I'm talking about. Oh, private chat's just for people in the stream. Oh, so if you and I want to gossip about everybody, that's where we need to go.
Hell yeah. We're going to be secretly talking crap.
All right, cool. So we are here. Let me pull up some stuff. We got kind of a lot to go over. I think today's kind of plan is we're going to go through some of the comments we've had and revisit some stuff we talked about last week and stuff we missed, go over some new equipment, blah, blah, blah. As you can tell, we don't have a guest this week. It's just going to be me and Sky again. So we're just going to kind of wing it. We talked about it earlier, but now I'm blanking on all of it. So
no, you're good. It's all locked in. I got it all.
Yeah.
But you want to let's get the elephant in the room out of the way really quick. With
I mean, you guys
had, we've had some people asking. Jake's made a couple posts on the page. You know, we've already got a bunch of messages asking about sizes and prices and stuff. Here's the new tees. I'm not going to know how the heck to show this thing. It's got the Flippin Tin. We got these new Field Herpin caps. They're super lightweight. They're like almost like a water resistant material. I was pretty stoked on that. You can't really tell in pictures and stuff, but once you get it in hand, it's almost like it's like a nylon-ish kind of material. And man, everything's super comfy. Obviously, it's made by Fulvius. Justin picks the best quality t-shirts and stuff to make it out of. Absolutely. So yeah, if you guys are wanting to get a hat or get a shirt and, you know, rep the gang, hit up the Flippin Tin Instagram page. That's where we're going to be taking your guys' orders down and everything. We're not going to be doing it one by one. We're going to try to kind of wait like a month or so, let a bunch of orders come in so we can get a good tally together. And, you know, then we'll get everyone's stuff put in and keep everything, you know, we'll keep in touch with everybody, obviously, throughout the process. But yeah, it'll just be easier that way. And yeah, we'll keep you guys taken care of. We'll send you some stickers and whatnot. Keep you decked out with the Flippin Tin gear. It's already worked for me. It's foolproof. I mean, you wear it, you're in the field. Not only do you feel swift and just like you're feeling like you're out there looking like a hawk out there, just like sticking shit. But you find herps, dude. I mean,
it attracts
them, especially like this color. You blend into your surroundings. Like, I mean, it's foolproof gear. It's,
for sure.
If you're not wearing it, you're slacking, basically.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so if you're interested in anything, like Sky said, just message the page and I'll be talking to you. So how it's going to work, like Sky said, we're going to build up a big order to kind of, because me and Sky, we're not doing this to make any kinds of money. We're making these as cheap as possible for you guys, even though they're not super cheap, but they're about average. They're going to be $30 each. So $30 for a shirt, $30 for a hat. And that's shipped. That's not, plus shipping or anything. That's $30 shipped. So that includes everything. So how it's going to work is if you message the page, tell us what you want, what size. I'll send you a link. If you want a hat, I'll send you a link to all the hat colors that you can choose from, because there's a bunch of different colors. So I'll make sure everybody gets what they want as long as it's in stock. Now, the site I send you, Justin has access, because Justin's going to be making all these for us. Justin has access to all the colors the site has, but on the site, they may say out of stock. That doesn't necessarily mean they're out of stock for Justin. There is a chance they may be for Justin. So if that's the case, I'll message you, hit you up, let you know it's out of stock, and we can choose a different color from there. Um, so we're doing these at like kind of a make to order type of thing. We're gonna get everything set up, and we will be asking for payment up front whenever you want it. I hate to be like that, but me and Sky are not made of money, so we gotta get everything kind of together so we can do one big push to Smitty. So we're gonna let it run for 3 to 4 weeks, about a month or so, and then yeah, like Justin said, have a backup color picked out just in case. So if you want that, just let us know. But we are going to ask for payment up front. That way I'll put everything to the side and make sure that we can pay Justin up front for everything, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to deal with all the shipping. Justin's going to make them. I'm going to take them, and I will ship them out to you guys as soon as everything's done. I'll have a tally of everybody, of your size, your color hat, if you decide to get a hat, all that. So you can do either one. Nothing says you have to get a hat if you get a shirt. Nothing says you have to get a shirt if you get a hat. So either way, just let us know, message the page, and we'll make sure we keep track of everybody and
You'd
take
be
care of
pretty
everything.
lame not to get both. Just
I
saying.
mean, yeah, I mean,
And
both is the
we
way to
got
go.
we got Sean in the chat asking about shipping to Canada. I will have
I
to
will,
get with Smitty on that and just see what he's done,
yeah,
and we'll get back with you on that. But we'll
yeah, I'll
try to
have,
do it as, like I said, we're literally, or like Jake said, we're not really making any money, if
no,
any. Probably going to be losing money after gas and everything. So
yeah. So this definitely isn't anything for us to
yeah,
clear anything. This is us just trying to break even on it.
yeah.
So that's all we ask. Sean, I will look into shipping to Canada. We'll do, if you want something, I'll charge you the flat rate at first, and if it ends up being more, I'll message you, and before I ship it, I'll just have you send a little bit of extra funds. I'm sure it won't be too bad. I'll just have to figure that out. I'm only used to shipping reptiles, not equipment, so I don't
Jack said
really
I could
know.
smuggle it. So, I mean, that's always an option too.
He said you can go bankrupt shipping to Canada. Yeah, so I'll definitely figure that out though. If you're willing to pay for shipping, I'm more than willing to jump through any hoops I need to get it to you. Because we want everybody to rep this stuff. We absolutely love this. I found my first snake of the year wearing this shirt, so obviously good luck. The hats are great. I went with orange mostly because it matches my backpack that I got. It's also orange, but also high vis when you're on a WMA is never a bad thing. But
I
there's a
like it
ton of
because it
different
kind of
colors.
matches the background too, and we're kind of like all
Yeah,
tied together with like the logo with the colors
yeah,
we got going on.
yeah. And the hats, they actually have a rope on them. They're the rope 5 panel hats. So what we can do, and I'll clarify if you want something different, but what I'm gonna plan to do, Sky didn't do it because he's lame. But we're gonna make the stitching of the logo match the rope, because I think that's gonna look cool. If you don't want that, just let me know. I will ask to specify, to make sure, because I'm sure Sky didn't want a yellow logo to match his yellow rope. Um, so yeah, and then Joe said orange is a safety color too in the woods. Absolutely, it's a great thing to have. I'm all about it. I like orange. So yeah, if you're interested, just hit us up. I know that was kind of a lot of information. If you have any questions, just let us know. But upon you telling us what you want, I'll send you my PayPal, and make sure that is put to the side. It will not be touched. It will be only for shirts. And I can assure you, you will get your stuff. It might take a little while, so just be prepared for that. But I will keep you posted, and during the process, feel free to message us anytime. We'll keep you updated on everything. So we just want to get everything out there. I know we're doing it kind of soon. We're only 2 episodes in. We're like merch, but that's we're excited. So, and
That's how
everybody's
it rolls.
already, yeah, everybody's been, Justin kind of made these shirts for us, and we were all excited. So we posted them up, and everybody's like, when can I get one? So
Yeah,
we figured do it this way, it'd be the easiest. That way we don't have a bunch of leftover sizes of shit that people don't want, and then I don't have to keep a box of shirts that I paid for in my garage. So that's pretty much that. I think we
Yeah,
covered
that covers
everything.
that.
So just let us know. Keep you in
Yeah,
the
hit
loop.
us up. Hit us up.
Yeah.
Get you a hat. At least get a hat. The hats are
Yeah,
sick.
the hats are sick, man. I'm not gonna lie. Sky's right. The material is like it's really. I had no idea. I thought it was gonna be like your classic kind of cottony 5-panel hat, but these are like a moisture wicking material. Like if water fell on it, it'd be like the drop that falls down. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain, and you can't tell in a picture or a
Yeah.
video or anything. Um, but they're dope. Super lightweight, super comfortable. And let's face it, everybody looks good in a 5-panel hat. They're my personal favorite. So
Hey, dope.
yeah, they're awesome.
Get with the
So
program.
yeah, just let us know. They're great field hats. And we went with this style because this is like kind of a field style hat. At least everything that I look at is the 5 panels are normally your outdoorsy style hats if you're into that kind of thing. So just keep us posted and let us know. Like I said, you have about a month. I'm sure once we do this first round, if some people missed out and they want something, we'll do another run later on. Um, so we'll get all that figured out. But let us know. We'll run this for about 4 weeks or so, and then, or if things just stop and nobody's messaging us anymore, we'll probably call it and get everything out because definitely don't want to be slacking on that.
Yeah, get everyone their stuff.
Yep.
They got to be getting their first herp of the year with wearing that stuff.
Yeah, boy. Yep.
So since speaking of, have you got your first herp of the year in hand?
In hand, yes, I did. As I said earlier, I went herping last week and wearing all of my beautiful Flippin Tin gear. I found a lot of herps, but more specifically, I got my first snake in hand. That was actually a really cool thing. So I went to one of my local WMAs and I was driving around, hiking through different spots. There's a lot of flooded areas, so I was pretty hopeful. Saw a bunch of frogs, bunch of gators. Oh my gosh, there were a lot of gators out there.
That video you got of them crossing the road was sick.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So I saw a gator on the road. It was funny. I took a bunch of videos to try and make a YouTube video at some point. I haven't put in effort into that yet because I've been busy. But I took a bunch of videos, so YouTube video will be to come. So really excited about that. But ton of gators, frogs, some skinks. Found some anoles at my parents' house later that day because I went over there to help my dad with some stuff and ended up bopping around his property because he just cleared a section of land. So I was looking around there. And then, so while I was at the WMA, I was at this spot and I actually went to this exact spot with Chris Montross when he was herping with me. And we found 2 ribbon snakes right there. So I was like, I'm going to bop over there, see if I can't find me a ribbon. And there's a bunch of fallen bark all over the place, from trees that had died. So I was flipping the bark on the ground. And I just happened to pick my head up and something caught my eye. And I look over and right at face height, there was a tree that had been broken off, about head high. And there's a ribbon snake just sitting there, just staring right at me, almost not moving at all. And I was like, oh my God,
Hell yeah.
was right there. So it was really cool how it was pure luck, that I just happened to look over and it was sitting right there staring at me.
Yeah, you could have just walked right by it.
Yeah, exactly. I never even thought to look in the tree. It's just like that little stripe he's got just caught my eye and I happened to look over and
That's
he
freaking
was right
awesome.
there. So I took some videos of him and tried to coax him out a little bit. I probably should have left him alone, but you know me, I can't not hold him. So I tried to slowly go in there and see if I could just lift him out, but he ended up darting. And so I grabbed him up and held him for a second, took some pictures in the hand and all that good stuff. So first snake of the year, that was so sick. That was the only snake I saw the whole time, which I was perfectly okay. It was kind of a weird day. It wasn't that warm, but it was warm enough. But seeing all the gators was cool. I saw a gator cross on the road. I was actually heading out and I saw a gator on the road, in the distance. So I immediately pulled out my phone and I was like, there's a gator crossing the road. I floored it on this dirt road in the middle of a WMA. And I thought he was going to jet off to the side. And as I pulled up to him in my truck, he kind of like laid down because he was walking at first, and he laid down on the dirt road. And I hopped out and I started videoing him, and he was looking at me all weird. All of a sudden, he stood up and he turns around, and that's when I took the video that I posted on
Yeah.
Instagram. He turned around and went back into the swamp area. And
Homie was doing the tall walk. That was sick.
yeah, it was cool, man. I love watching those things walk, dude. It's so
Yeah.
cool. And it was crazy because he went where the area he went in at was there's a bunch of like cover over the top of a bunch of weeds and different things covering the top of the water. And he went down and you couldn't see the gator at all, but you saw everything like
Just
shifting.
moving where he was
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah, it was so cool. And so I videoed him moving through that. You couldn't see the gator at all, but you just see the grass just shifting, and it was so cool, man.
That's so wild.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then I walked another area looking for cottonmouths and a possible cane break, and ran into some guys that were birding and ended up talking to them. And dude had been on herp trips before. And he saw my hook and he was like, "I'm guessing you're looking for snakes." And I was like, "Yeah, actually I am."
Hell yeah.
So it was cool. And then today, actually at work, I saw a bunch of gators too. And so that was awesome. Yeah, I love seeing alligators. Those are always the first things I see, on the air. Those guys come out as soon as it hits about 65 degrees and sunny. They're out basking, baby.
They're like, give me the warmth.
Yeah. So, what about you, man? I know you've been out quite a bit. You've been out more than I have because it's been warmer by you.
Yeah, dude. I'm honestly disappointed at my count and my success rate for as much as I've been out so far. But yeah,
because you
I've
can't
hit my
racer.
Yeah, I've hit my local spot at least like 5 or 6 times, and then I've hit a couple other spots that are close to the house too. Just bouncing around, checking out some new stuff. I've lost the same racer 3 times now in the same spot, which I want to get into that.
Yeah,
and then yesterday I went out and hit a new spot and I lost another racer, which that one I thought I was going to be able to get, but it just got into like a dip off the side of the road and the shrubs were so thick. And I was like doing the like break a branch, listen, break a branch, listen, to the point where it was like, all right, this eventually died off and I just gave up. But the cool thing about the one that I've lost 3 times was it was right after we made the first episode and I was like, all right, I'm going to go out and get some field content. And I was making some, clips and stuff too for a YouTube video, just going over the surroundings and like what to look for and stuff that I was noticing while I was out there. And I was coming up on a spot where I've seen a lot of stuff. So I was like, let me just start recording while I'm walking around. And sure enough, that was when I had the first run in with the black racer and it darted off into a brush pile. And I spent like 15 minutes doing the solo man run around this brush pile trying to find it until it either went into a hole or it took off to the side. And when I was running around and didn't see it. So then like 2 days later, I came back and I was like, all right, now that I'm at this spot, I know this black racer is here. Let me be, I'm going to be prepared for it this time. Had my phone out again. Like, let me start recording. So I walk up to the area. This time he was like 10 or 15 feet closer to where I was walking from than he was the first time. But sure enough, darts off again, right into the same brush pile that I chased around the first time. So I'm like, all right, this is this guy's area. So I poked around in that brush pile again, couldn't find him that time. I was like, all right, so there's probably a hole in here, and he's going into that hole in the brush pile. Meandered on, went throughout my day. Yesterday, I went back when I was just coming back from my little bike ride and everything. And I was like, oh, let me just run through there. It's still a little bit warm enough. Went to the same spot again, had my phone out again, expecting, all right, this guy's either going to be here or he's not. I was so locked in on the ground. Like I told myself, I was like, all right, be ready for this thing. Look for any scale pattern. Look for anything that looks like a snake, anything that looks black. Like he's going to be here if he's here. I'm looking in the exact 2 spots that I seen him. Sure enough, he's 5 foot closer to me again than it was the last time. And I freaking spook him again. He goes straight back into that same brush pile. So I'm like, okay, this guy has a little strip that he does his cryptic basking in, and he knows exactly where his home is. He
Oh
must
yeah.
have a hole in that brush pile. It's a little palm frond brush pile. It's like 3 or 4 palm fronds around the base of an oak tree, to give you some context. And obviously a bunch of dead leaves and dead palm frond leaves all bundled up in there. So he's got to have a hole in the middle of that thing. But that's over 2 week period now that I've gone back and I've witnessed the same snake in the same area at the same time of day in the same weather patterns. So that's cool observation.
Yeah.
I'm taking the loss, but I'm taking away what I gained from that, which is I now know where this snake's living. I can go back and see it anytime I want, as long as I go there at the right time of day. Maybe this fourth time I'll be keen enough to come from a different direction. Maybe I'll get hands on this guy.
You got to
But
cut
he's
off. You got to go around and then cut off that access point that he goes into, that brush.
yeah,
Got to go around the other side and try
yeah,
and get him to come towards you. And he can,
yeah, yeah. That, or I just need you to come down so we can tag team him.
yeah.
Give him the old shuffle.
So
But
two stories, or you don't you got more?
no. You can go. You can go. Yeah.
I was gonna say two stories with black racers. One, me and Chaz on the Georgia trip, we caught a black racer, and I tried getting y'all's attention, but nobody could hear me yelling. Um, Me and Chaz were kind of in the same area, we were close by, and he hollers at me. He's like, "Jake, there's a snake over here," and I was like, "All right, I got you." So I ran over, and he's like, "Hold on," and he's like, he pointed, he's like, "It's right there," and I see this good sized black racer, probably about 4 foot. And he was like, "All right." He goes, "You stay where you are, and I'm going to make a move for it. When I make a move for it, maybe he'll go towards you. You can nab him." I was like, "All right, I got you. There's no way this is going to work, but I got you." And dude, sure enough, Chaz was sitting there and he started kind of walking close. And he went for it, and that thing took off and it came right towards me, man. I just fucking nabbed him right there. I was like, "Holy shit, that worked." Like,
Yeah, boy.
what? So that was cool as hell.
Dude,
But
coach whips and racers, that's like the only way to get him, is to have like two people, and you got to have that ping pong, or
yeah.
you got to just dive on it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
and which I have caught him absolutely laying out before grabbing him.
oh yeah.
But along the same stories, and now this chest is no
Yeah,
way it's
no
gonna
way
work.
it's gonna work.
Oh, it did. I'm not gonna lie. I was in my head. I was like, "Yeah, we're not getting this thing, but we're gonna try." Damn it, Chaz hooked it up, man. That was awesome.
That's awesome.
And but that whole thing that where you saw the same racer in the same spot, it's actually happened to me when I was younger. So I was probably, I don't know, 14, 15 or so. And I was just getting into like trying to catch snakes. I was only doing it on my parents' property. I grew up on 5 acres. So we had a lot of woods for me to explore and all that. Rarely found snakes though, because the neighbor across the dirt road had guinea fowl. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about guinea fowl, but they're notorious snake
Snake
peckers. Like,
killers, and
yeah, they destroy snakes. So we never had that many snakes that I saw around. They were there, but there wasn't I can count on one hand the amount of times I found snakes in my actual yard. But I was walking through the woods one day by myself, and I saw this racer sitting in a little patch of sun in the woods. And I was like, "Oh," and so I just took off after him. I chased him for a minute. I dove, I missed him, and he was gone. So the next day, I think it was, my buddy across the field, he also likes snakes. So he always went looking with me and stuff. And so I took him over there, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I was walking up here and the snake was sitting right about there. It's right there." And it was sitting at exact same spot. And so we took off after him again and missed him again,
yeah,
of course, but it's crazy. So like, I think that is kind of black racers might have that kind of, they get a spot and they like it and they
yeah.
stay there,
The I have it up on my Hail the Scales page, and I'm pretty sure I've told you, and I don't know, I've talked about it in the group chat that I've got before, but my longest ongoing observation of a single animal is a black racer, and it was for at least a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer than a year and a half.
wow.
But I literally watched this snake go from it was a little bit bigger than a hatchling, but it still had its hatchling pattern where it was like, looked like a corn snake basically.
Yeah.
I watched it go from that into a full 3 foot long maybe 3.5 foot long,
Wow.
solid black racer. It lived at the back of our shop when I worked at my last job, and I would have to go to the backside of the building notoriously like 3 to 5 times a day, and it lived 6 foot off the ground in a metal pipe where the fence was broken, and so there was a opening in the pipe. That thing lived in the opening of the pipe, and it would come out and go into the trees and go onto the chain link fence and eat freaking green and or brown and knolls until its stomach was full. Because that's, I mean, they were everywhere at the shop. But me and my manager, once we noticed it there a couple of times, we started, making a note of it. And day after day, week after week, month after month, it turned into this whole thing. And we watched it, and we were collecting his sheds. My manager, he has a little grandson. So every time it shed and we could collect the full shed, he would take it to his grandson, like full on thing. I have documentation, pictures. It's up on my Instagram page. One of the coolest things I've ever observed. But the one thing that I took away from the whole thing was how arboreal in nature black racers are. In the whole year and a half of us observing that snake or longer, never one time. Ooh, I take that back. We did see it on the ground one time. It was crossing the part of our field or whatever, but it literally went back up to another side of the chain link fence and went right back up the fence. But in that whole year and a half, other than that one time, we always saw it up on the fence, in the piping of the top layer of the fence, or up in the trees that surrounded the yard. Never did we ever see that snake on the ground. So like I was like, man, that's goes to show you how arboreal this species actually is, and how quick they can move through the trees, and then just how they stay in one area. If it's a good area and it provides food and shelter, I guarantee you that snake's probably still there unless someone's killed it. I mean, I want to see how long I can see this black racer out here and just document, how many
Yeah.
times I've seen it, how many times it's lost me. And I just think that's cool because
Yeah.
we're doing our own telemetry without doing telemetry, basically.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I've definitely never, had an experience like that where you saw the same snake, over and over, but
Dude, it was
that's
only because it
that's so
was at my
cool.
work.
Yeah. That's so awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool. Black racers are fun, man. I'll try usually to try and catch them just because I still love black racers, man. Smitty won't even go for a black anymore, but I love them, man. I usually try. And it's funny you say the arboreal thing because there was one time I was, at my old same job but different position within what I do now. Um, I'm used to map out drain pipes, in the entire county, and we would see quite a few snakes. And I looked under this pipe and I could see a snake in there. So I was like, oh, like there's something under there. So I tried to coax it out and eventually came out, and it was a racer. And so I was chasing it, and I lost it for a second. I was like, where the hell is it? And this pipe, obviously it's a pipe. It leads to a ditch or some other type. In this scenario, it was a ditch. So it went into the ditch and I was trying to chase it and I lost it. And I was like, what the heck? So I was on one side of the ditch and I look over and it's like 5 feet up in this shrub, thing, just kind of moving around. I was like, oh shit. So I dove across this ditch and grabbed it midair from the
Hell
ditch
yeah.
and I had him, but man, they definitely go up. And we got a comment that says, do you think you're missing a lot of snakes out herping because you're only looking down? And I think totally yes. And I
Yeah.
am 100% guilty of that.
I try to keep the scan freaking.
Yeah, it's especially hard when you're by yourself. It's hard to look, everywhere at
Oh yeah.
once. That's why I like going with people, because if you got enough eyes, you can have one person looking one side, one person looking the other side, one person looking up.
Yeah.
And that's your best, point of view. But yeah, absolutely. I think there's a ton of snakes that you don't see because you're only looking down. Rat snakes are extremely arboreal. Black racers will go up. Water snakes will go up, and you can you'll miss all kinds of stuff. Only looking on the ground.
Yeah.
Even one time. Now I'm not going to say rattlesnakes do this a lot, but there's one time I found a baby canebrake rattlesnake with my buddy Ben. And so we're sitting there photographing it. We weren't really doing anything to it, it was super chill. It was like 59, 58, 60 degrees out. It was really cold. I couldn't believe this thing was sitting just outside of like a den under a tree. This was like a burned up tree, and there was like this den area underneath where the roots came over. And we had already walked past this tree, and we were working our way back, and it was sitting right out there. So yeah, we took some pictures of it. That was Ben's life of rattlesnakes. That was awesome. But as we're taking pictures of it, it starts to move a little bit. And so I just kind of observed it and watched it. And this thing started going up the tree. It was using the bark, as you know
Like
how
work,
snakes do it. Yeah, to work its way up. And it started just going up the tree. And I was like, what the hell? It's
dude.
like,
No,
this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Watching this thing just like slowly go up the tree. And eventually it kind of worked its way down because I think we were freaking it out and it wanted to go back in its burrow. Um, but I think a lot more stuff utilizes, at least shorter trees, brushes, anything like that to kind of get off the ground. Some of them will be 20 feet up in a tree, no doubt, especially rat snakes, corn snakes, anything like that. Um, they definitely like to be in trees. And yeah, exotic world of geckos, like corn snakes and rat snakes. Yeah, they love the trees, man. And
freaking cane brakes, I think, are notoriously more arboreal, especially when they're younger than we even
absolutely.
know about. If you guys follow Noah, who Noah Fields, he does all bunch of herping and everything. He's got a YouTube channel that's massive, huge, awesome herper. But that guy has literally witnessed multiple litters of cane brakes up in trees, and he's documented it. So I think they're a lot more arboreal, especially when they're younger, just to stay safe, whatever it takes to survive. And it's just a lot of stuff that we haven't seen. So we
and I
don't think
think
it happens.
I think a lot of that too, though, is and a lot of times, like a baby canebrake, you're not going to see one up in a tree, but you'll see it at like overhanging brush and like bushes and stuff like that. And I think that's because that's where a lot of anoles will hang out. And a baby canebrake or a baby rattlesnake in general, they're not that big. And let me tell you, there's not a whole lot of pinky mice just beep bopping around out there.
No.
So they're getting anything they can, and those anoles are perfect size prey for a lot of stuff. And I think those baby rattlesnakes are no different. So they'll sit up in those brush areas and sit there and wait. And yeah, they're ambush predators, so they're gonna ambush 3 feet up in a shrub. But it's no different than anything else because those anoles and baby lizards and stuff are gonna be perfect size meals for such a small snake.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike Kasicki commented, said, I try to stop every 20 feet or so and just all around, look up, down, sideways, and all that. And I think that's great. That's a habit I'm also trying to get into. When you're out in the field, you kind of get in the zone, you're just trucking and you're just looking all over the place. But I think it's really good. It's been a good habit that I've been getting into lately is to like walk a little bit, stop. And if you're in an area that looks kind of juicy, just stop and, just look around, observe everything that you're in, look in the bushes, look up in the trees, on the ground, everywhere, but just stop and kind of just take it all in for a second and look and listen. I
Yeah.
think listening is
Listen.
a great thing too.
Oh, yeah. I rely a lot on listening. You can hear, I mean,
Yeah.
half the time that's what you're listening for is, all right, is there leaves moving? Is there twigs moving? Is there
Right.
something on the ground moving? Like, what's going on? How can
Yeah.
I see this thing? Um, Jack said something that I was literally about to bring up. He said they probably eat bugs too, and it's
Exactly.
already well documented about copperheads, eating cicadas and
Yeah.
other.
Cottonmouths too. Cottonmouths, especially. They
Yeah, sorry, I said
yeah.
I meant what?
Cottonmouth.
Wait, hold on. Did I say cottonmouths or copperheads?
You said copperhead.
Okay, I meant to say copperheads, but and
You
you
meant to
said
say copperheads or you meant to say cottonmouths?
I meant to say copperheads. I didn't know
Okay.
cottonmouths also did that
Yeah,
too.
no, there's been documentation of the cottonmouths eating the cicadas.
Okay. Yeah, I knew for sure about the copperheads. I didn't know that. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool too. But yeah, so if you're going to tell me those two viper species are relying on, the insects and stuff, but
And
we're
they're the
just going to
only ones doing it? No.
we're only, we're going to exclude the other one even though it likes to climb up trees where the bugs are.
No.
Okay? So we're just
Yeah.
going to exclude it.
No. Guarantee you
No.
all of them are eating anything they can. Chaz said both, and yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think a lot of stuff. A cicada is just small enough for an average sized animal to eat it. So I think a lot of snakes are eating cicadas.
I wouldn't doubt it,
It's
dude.
just only been documented on certain species. And
Yeah,
Chaz
Chad's got
also
those
said he had small
hornworms.
copperheads last year that he got to feed hornworms, and that makes
Yeah,
perfect sense. I think these things are eating a lot more insects than we care to realize or
dude,
even
rough
admit
green
to.
snakes, scarlet snakes.
Yeah, I
You're
think
gonna tell me that those things
everything
don't?
is at a small size. Anything when it's baby, baby colubrids are tiny.
Yeah,
Like I said, there's not a bunch of micro pinkies fucking beep bopping around in the woods.
there's
Like,
100 packs of red hots
yeah,
hiding underneath that log, bro.
yeah, exactly. So I think they're eating basically anything they can get, whether it's a bug or they find a nest and they happen to get some, baby stuff. But even as babies, I don't see them raiding nests like that because if mom's there, then they become food.
Yeah,
Like it's treacherous as a baby snake. Everything's bigger than you. So you're gonna eat what you can get. And I guarantee you that's crickets, grasshoppers, cicadas, anything. Officially Jake's favorite phrase, beep bopping around. That is my favorite phrase. I love the term beep bopping. I love the term beep bopping. I'm not gonna lie.
oh god.
So yeah, I think they're eating all kinds of stuff, and I think they're gonna be in those kind of brushes where all those things are gonna hang out, crickets, grasshoppers, all that good stuff. Um, so that's it's a good observation. It's something to think about. And when you know that type of stuff, it also helps with your herping abilities because if you know where those things hang out, you can probably bet there might be snakes hanging out in those same type of areas. So all your little bushes and shrubs and stuff, don't be afraid to check those out. They like to hang out in that 3 to 5 foot area, not too high off the ground, but off the ground a little bit. Because not only is it a good area for them to find food, it's also a really good area for them to stay camouflaged because there's a lot of cover right there. So it's kind of a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything eats you when you're a baby snake.
You're
So
just a little baby.
yeah. But yeah, something to think about while you're out there. You gotta think about prey too. You can't just think about the snake. Think about the prey and what it might want to go for.
Stay vigilant. Use your senses. Think like
Yeah,
the snake. You got to
yeah.
think like the
Be
snake.
the
Be
snake.
the snake. Think like the snake. How else are you going to find it?
Exactly. And it's funny, listening too is such a big thing because that happened multiple times while I was walking my spot for cottonmouths. I was walking my cross dike last weekend, and there were several times I heard a shh, off to the side, and I would stop and I would, look around and I'm pretty sure at least one of them was a snake because it sounded a whole lot like that snake. Just because there's a very distinct sound with a snake. It's like a smooth kind of,
Yeah, and you can, yeah, you hear the whole body going across the
yeah.
loop.
So, and that's the problem with this spot is a lot of them hang out on the edges and they'll know you're there before you know they're there, and they'll
Yeah,
just dip just
yeah.
right off to the side and they're gone.
That's how I
Um,
lost the second racer yesterday. It
yeah.
was, I not only heard it to grab my attention, but that's how I lost it. Was on the shoulder of the trail, and it was right in the leaves of the shoulder. So as soon as it hooked its front of its body around, I heard all those leaves move, and I was like, "Oh shit, snake!" And
Gone.
then gone and off the shoulder, back into the woods, and I was like, "All right, this is
It's
gonna be tough."
it's even worse if you're on a cross dike because it's water on both sides.
Yeah.
There's no going in after it. But it did actually prevail for me one time. I heard something dive off, and I was like, "Ooh, what was that?" So I paused and I just kind of looked because I just wanted to see if anything was in the water or whatever. But there's frogs and turtles, all kinds of stuff. I paused and looked, and I kind of scanned for a second. And I don't know if this is what ran off, but I happened to see a yellow belly slider sitting in the water right there. And all I could see was its head just kind of poking out of the water, sitting there. And I was like, "Hey, where's Jack when you need him?"
Right?
And yeah, immediately thought of you, buddy. So
You need to
um,
bebop over there and grab that
all right,
thing.
we're gonna drop that. I'm never saying it again.
Come on,
Uh,
bro. I brought my sweet tea for you and everything tonight, man.
you're just tempting me with the sweet tea.
I'm about to bebop this thing down really quick.
Okay, all right. I can't say anything with you fucks. I swear to God.
Sorry. It's
But
because we love you.
nah, yeah. But
So,
yeah.
did you have any other cool observations or see anything else while you're out in the woods before we move on to anything else?
Mm, Trying to think. The gator was definitely cool. Ring or not the ringneck. Somebody said yeah. Exotic World of Geckos said ringneck, and I'm like ringnecks. The ribbon snake was awesome. That was probably definitely the highlight. And I definitely saw some cool frogs. And I flipped a toad. Actually, I was on my parents' property, and so my parents have 16 acres now. My dad's building a house, so I went out there to help him with some HVAC stuff. And the guy who had the property before my parents had trash just everywhere. This place was covered in just crap. The dude hoarded everything, and so there's still some.
Flipping
There's
paradise.
right, so there's still stuff hanging around, and so I went over and flipped the board that I found. There's a big old American toad sitting under there.
Oh yeah, I bet he was.
So I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" So I took a little video of him. Dude, I love toads.
Oh yeah, toads
Like
are cool.
I don't care how
We're all fucking.
many I don't care how many I see, dude. I absolutely love toads.
Yeah,
We get Americans, Southerns, and
spades.
Spadefoots, and we also get narrowmouths here, narrowmouth
Yeah,
toads.
we get. I think we get the same for.
Yeah, we get the same stuff.
Yeah,
It was funny actually. So when I was in Florida last, and me and Preston came by you, I think it was one of the first nights I was there. Preston was like, "Oh, dude, there's always spadefoots in the backyard. Go looking around." I was like, "Don't tell me twice." So I went out there, dude, shined my flashlight. Sure enough, there's a little spadefoot sitting there. I was like, "Dude,
that's freaking
hell
awesome.
yeah!" Because
That's
I don't
awesome.
see spadefoots often here. I definitely have quite a few times, but I don't see them that often. They're kind of far and few between. Southerns and Americans are definitely the staple here. But the fact that he was like, dude, just go outside and look. And sure enough, there's a little spadefoot sitting over there. I was like, oh my God, this is the
Hell
cutest
yeah,
thing ever.
that's awesome.
Um, Joe said the real question, should I go herping this weekend if I don't know where the hell I'm going or what?
Yeah,
Yes. Like we have said before, Joe, you don't know if you don't go.
you got to get
Hey,
out there, bro. I
at
didn't find
Rob's.
nothing at one of my favorite spots until I went like 15 times. So go get out there, see it, check it out, scope it.
Yes. You gotta go, go on Google Maps, find something a little bit more secluded. And then, the best thing you can do is it'd be go road cruise during the day, even though you probably won't find anything on the road.
Scope it.
Get a feel for the habitat, scope it out, just go drive around, waste some gas. You got to do something. Okay, you don't know if you don't go. You got to flip the tin.
Yeah.
If you don't get out there and try, it's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah,
Okay,
Brent just said, dude, walking in the woods is, the best part. You come across a snake, that's a plus. And that's
exactly.
exactly what I was telling myself yesterday. I wasn't really seeing anything. I was just out there, but there's literally a point. I don't know if you guys are following the Flippin Tin page. You probably saw my story where I was just like, man, this feels like paradise right now. It's just gopher tortoises, open long leaf pine, plain area where and then just tree line with some little rolling sand hills. Like, dude, it's just freaking paradise. I was like, all right, even if I don't see a snake right now, which thankfully I saw that black racer like 15 minutes later, I was just like, man, this is scoping out the sickest
Yeah.
area right now. Like, oh, I can't wait to bring the boys back here just to see this spot. Like, so sick. So yeah, you got to just get out there because you're not going to know where anything's at. Now I know where at least 30 more gopher holes are that we can go check when we go out on our next outing because I scoped out a bunch of them. So if you don't find nothing, it's all about just taking back from the process. Like I said, I lost those two black racers won 3 times, but I was still able to take away knowledge from the experience.
Yep.
And now I know so much more about my area because of it. So
And Joe said, I live in a suburban area and basically I have to just walk into the glades off the grid, no roads. Bro, that's even
perfect.
better.
That's perfect.
Are
What
you
are you
kidding me? Just
complaining about?
walk, don't get lost, but all you gotta do is just walk into that motherfucker
Put
and
your
you're good.
GPS
Like,
pin and just try to keep service, bro. That's the
yeah.
best advice I can give you.
And other thing you can do, just walk a straight line. You don't have to, yeah,
There is
you don't
no
have to
straight line
bebop
in the
around.
Everglades, bro.
Just walk, straight and know that you just turn around and walk your happy ass back. It'll be
Bebop
fine.
around through those woods,
Yeah,
bro.
come on, man. You'll be all right. You gotta go, man. You're not gonna find anything sitting at your house on your computer
Can't find them from the
or on
couch.
your phone, anything. Like Scott said last week, you're not gonna find anything in hotel rooms.
Nope.
Okay. Go ahead.
Before we move on, the last observation that I forgot, I did find in the one place I like going and taking you guys, I did find a huge fresh coach whip shed. So that
Nice.
was a nice, promising thing just to see that. All right, the snakes are out. This guy's got his winter shed off. He's feeling the spring air. He, she, they're getting frisky. So the good sign that stuff's moving, stuff's out, stuff's shedding. So didn't
Yeah.
get a lot of luck, but I got a lot of information. So
So Mike just said in the chat, Mr. Mike Kosicki, a good friend of ours, said, "Do y'all think areas that get frequently flooded out are more or less productive than slightly higher ground that doesn't?" So that's kind of what it depends on what you're looking for. I love areas that get flooded out because I love water snakes and I love
mhm.
cottonmouths. So those areas that get flooded frequently, oh yeah, I'm in that shit whenever possible. So, but that's going to be the majority of what you find is that stuff that frequents water habitat. But with that said, if you can hit an area that gets flooded then goes down, those snakes learn that, and when it's down, other stuff will go in there to see what got left on land from the flood. You know what I mean? Like all kinds of stuff will be left over on the flood, on the ground, whatever, whether it be stuff like snails, fish, minnows, anything like that. Stuff will know that and go to it. A lot of times it will be cottonmouths, water moccasins, I said cottonmouths or water snakes, stuff like that. Those will be your probably the majority of what you'll find, but also the surrounding areas will also be really good. If you stay nearby, you'll find more species as well, because those species will no. If there's water, it's good. That's always been my go-to. If there's fresh water somewhere, whether it floods or not, but if there's fresh water there regularly, that's where I want to be, because everything needs water and things will be around the water. And it's definitely a good place to be around, especially right after a flood, possibly even during. If you can scope the surrounding areas during a flood, stuff like mud snakes. If it's flooding, mud snakes will be moving. Stuff like
Yeah.
mud snakes, rainbow snakes, species like that. If it's flooding out, it's got to kind of push them the other way, and they'll be moving. If I want to find a mud snake, I'm either going to go when it's pouring rain or right after it just poured rain. Those are the best times to find certain species like that, because it just kind of pushes them out, because they live in swamps and mucky areas, but they don't want to be flooded. So they're going to kind of move on back. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. And Brent has a great point too. Eastern hogs love that area in the right location. Frogs, 100%. Stuff like your toad eaters, your frog eaters, hognose specifically. Absolutely. So it can definitely be hit or miss. You just got to go during the right time. It's more like a right before, right after, because the snakes will feel the pressure change. They're going to know when it's coming way before we do. And so they act accordingly. So, yeah, stuff to keep in mind. That's when you got to look at your weather patterns, your pressure changes, all that. If I know a storm's coming, I try to go right before and I try to go right after.
Yeah, we've
So,
had luck doing that, dude.
oh,
Going
yeah,
right
man.
after the rains.
I follow the storms. That's during the springtime. I'll pretty much go whenever, like during late March, April, early May. I'll go anytime and usually find something road cruising. But once it gets to like summer, like it's hot summer out, like nothing's really moving, I normally only road cruise when I know a storm's coming through. I'll try to go right before and I'll try to go the day after or right after. Cause sometimes, like here, I know the same way in Florida, you get a lot of like evening showers. So it'll rain for 30 minutes to an hour. I try to go right after that rain as the sun's going down.
Yeah.
As there's a lot of water on the roads, it brings a lot of stuff out. Follow your weather patterns. That is a huge thing. And even the summer, if you happen to get some type of cold front, because cold is a relative term. Here it doesn't ever get cold during the summer, but sometimes if a lot of people who don't know this. So when even during the winter, when rain's coming, you're going to get a warm front. Okay, but the rain pushes in a warm front, and then right after the rain leaves, a cold front follows. So if you notice that, in these southeastern areas, in the winter, it'll get warm for a day. That probably means it's going to rain. The rain comes through and then it's cold as shit. That's why it doesn't snow in places like here in Florida. It'll get down the freezing, but that rain will come in and push in that warm front and it rains, doesn't snow. Then right after it snows, it freezes. So, and it's no different in the summer. So if a rain is coming, temperatures are going to drop a little bit. And when that happens during the summer, you can have more luck before that rain hits. And then after the rain hits, everything's wet, everything's moving because frogs are moving. Everything eats those frogs, leopard frogs, bullfrogs, all that stuff. So right after that rain is also when you want to go because everything's moving, you know.
Yeah, when my arthritis starts kicking in, I know it's time to go herping.
Yeah, when my thumb starts hurting, when my rattlesnake thumb starts to act up, boy, we start going.
Oh. When you hear the clicks, that's the bone on bone knuckle pop. That's what they call that.
That's right. So just something to think about. Keep track of your storms, man. Those low pressure systems get stuff moving.
100%.
Also, I guess along the same lines, keep track of your moon phases. So I actually did my own kind of, not a study, but I tried something one time, and I went out in perfect conditions during a full moon, and I didn't find shit. I didn't find a single fucking thing with the full moon. And then I went out when it was pitch black out. There's basically no moon, and I found a lot of stuff. So keep track of your moon phases. If it's a full moon, I'm not saying you're not going to find anything, but
everything can see better at night when the moon's full.
exactly.
So snakes are not going to be wanting to be seen.
Exactly. So track your moon phases, track your weather systems, low pressure systems, all that stuff. You notice a lot of our friends and stuff are captive breeders, and if you breed stuff like carpet pythons, you know that when a low pressure system comes through, that's when you want to start pairing your carpets, stuff like that. And there's a reason for that. That low pressure system gets things going, especially during breeding season. It's no different. That's why if you pay attention to your captive collection, you can almost transfer that into the field. If your snakes get ornery, start moving around at a certain time, other stuff might be moving. So, pay attention to what's going on if you're a captive keeper, But these are all things you can transfer into the field to just kind of keep in the back of your mind.
I've always thought. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I always thought that. Like I've always had that as a correlated thought. Like during summertime when I do a lot of my road cruising, I'll pay attention to what nights that if like I'll go into my snake room and all the carpets and like everything's out rocking and rolling, like doing laps in their cage. I'm like, okay, there's something in the atmosphere. There's something going on in the bigger picture that I'm not feeling and I'm not seeing. I need to go hit the road right now.
Yep.
I'm not saying every time it's been great, but there has definitely been correlative times where I've seen my action in my room be high and go out and then see action on the road be high. And I've mentioned it to other herpers before, and they've, some of them that have noticed the same thing have also had similar luck. So I would also say that there's something to that,
Yeah.
That's why we're also saying, there's a connection between the wild in your collection and bringing that bridge and those connections and the more strands that we can get, the better for both sides of the coin it's going to be for herping because we're going to know more because we're going to have more cues to know about and look for, and then for our collection because we're going to know what to bring in and what could be better for the animal. So what did the monitors do during storms, Sky? So honestly, the monitors, they hunker down, bro. They usually, their pattern's more of like the first 5 hours of the day. They're up when the sun's up, the lights are on, aka they get all of their morning activity done, and then around noon, 1 o'clock, they start slowing down, chilling, getting their last drinks of water for the day, getting their last bask, checking out the hiding spot. If it storms, they're usually freaking hiding away, taking a nap. They know to go for safety, hide from the rain, come out when it's done.
And I think that is something that a lot do even in the wild because like I've herped during a rainstorm and it's weird. Like during the rain, I see pretty much I'll say three species. During the rain, I always find ribbon snakes. Always. There's been one day to where I literally stopping on the road for ribbon snakes because I wanted to, not because I didn't want to see them, but because I wanted to see what else was there. It was raining and I found probably 13 ribbon snakes in this one stretch of road. And I'm not exaggerating that at all. It was like a light rain. It wasn't pouring rain, but it was light. There are ribbon snakes everywhere. And I've kind of made that correlation. Same thing when I took Chris out that time when he came visiting me. There were all we found were two ribbon snakes, and it was raining while we were out there. And then me and Smitty were road cruising hunt club, and it was raining, and we found water snakes and one garter, and that was it. Any other time I've gone out there, I usually see I found a copperhead, a dead pygmy, a canebrake, a couple of cottonmouths, but those weren't during a rain. Those were just normal conditions after a rain or something like that. So I think most of your stuff, while it's and that skinwalker, me and Smitty saw something weird out there. It was kind of, I don't know what it was. It was either an albino armadillo or something else. I don't know, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But it was during a rain, I really don't see much. It's right before and right after that I usually have a little bit of luck. But on Smitty's skinwalker thing, so we were shut up, shut up, Chris. That's not. I don't know why anybody.
He'll put you on that shit.
No, I don't. I never said those words, so I don't know how that became a thing. But I guess I'll put you on whatever you want, especially nothing. But so to Smitty's comment that in that skinwalker, we were driving through the woods and on this dirt road in Hunt Club, and I started shining into the woods, and Smitty made a joke and he was like, "What would you do if we just saw a lady in white standing there?" And I was like, "I would floor it." And he just goes, "I would shit my pants immediately."
Dude, I remember doing that with my buddies when we were younger. We'd be driving through the middle of the woods. It's pitch black. We'd be like, "Bro, what would you do right now if a girl just like came out in front of the truck covered in blood?" And we're just like freaking ourselves out. Get out of the woods. We need to get out of the woods. Go. It's like, what were we even doing?
So while we were driving, though, I was shining and something caught my eye and it moved. I was like, "What the hell is that?" So I shined on it, and there was this animal that was about armadillo size. If you live anywhere in the Southeast, you know what an armadillo is. And so it's about armadillo size, and it was pitch white. I'm talking white as the racks in my background here. I mean, perfectly white, and it was kind of walking like an armadillo. It was low to the ground. It was small, but it would disappear, then it would pop back up for a second, walk around, and then it would disappear again, and then it was gone.
Dude, it's probably a possum, bro.
No, it wasn't a possum, dude. I know I've seen so many possums in my lifetime. So many possums. They have white on them, but they're gray. This thing almost glowed in my flashlight. It was so white. I don't mean it was kind of. I'm not saying. See, Smitty knows. He said, "I saw what I saw." That thing was as white as these racks beside me. I am not shitting you, dude. This thing almost glowed when I hit it with a light. I have no idea what it was. I don't know if it was a perfectly white cat that was beep bopping around out there, or what. But this thing moved like an armadillo. It wasn't quick, but it kind of just scurried everywhere. I don't know. I have no idea what it was. Somebody said skunk, and that kind of crossed my mind. You don't see a lot of skunks around here, but out there, I wouldn't be surprised. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see a skunk without stripes, because I saw this thing full body for like flashes, and there was no other colors to it but pitch white. And I don't know. It was just the weirdest thing. That's when Smitty got all freaked out and started talking about the lady in white standing.
We need to get out of here, man.
Oh, it was funny. Brent said, "Man, was about 15 minutes ago with the dog and definitely heard a black bear or deer, which are both very common on our property late night and early morning." Those are two things you got to worry about, man. Not even, you don't have to worry about deer, but sometimes they go rogue when they're running. And you got to watch out for them. And you don't really see bear around here, but Sky, I know you get bears in your
Dude,
area.
yeah, I forgot about that observation. The second time when I was in the woods, I noticed a new trail that had been cut,
Ah,
and I was like, "Okay, that trail wasn't there last time. Let me go check it out." And while I was walking down the trail, it was wide enough for a four-wheeler to fit through
oh, shit.
comfortably, like a side by side.
Yeah.
And but it was just like all knocked down brush. Some of it was tore up, but there was like no tire marks, and I was like, "This is trippy." So I followed it. I took video of all of this, so when we do make a YouTube video, it'll be a cool little observation. But I get to I follow it for a while, and I'm like, "All right, this is not looking like an actual cut trail, bro." I get to where it opens up, and it opens up into this massive, like probably 80-yard section of just hugely rooted fresh hogs. Like a hog pack just came there and just rooted everything up. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, not a trail. I'm right in some fresh hog territory.
That's a game trail, my friend.
Yeah, I was like, I might just definitely walk down the fresh hog game trail. So I was like, yeah, I need to be careful out here because now I'm going to run into some hogs after I already ran into a black bear. Like, be careful, man. Be careful.
I tell you, I think I'd almost rather run into a black bear than a hog, dude, because those things are
Yeah,
insane.
hogs will attack you. Black bears
They will,
are supposed to be scared of you.
yeah, they hogs will fuck you up, dude. I know a guy that was deer hunting. He shot a big buck and he went down to go get his deer and he was kind of just like looking at it about to try and pick it up. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he got slammed and knocked to the ground. And he looks up and there's a hog standing there looking at him. And he went to go run at him again. Dude pulled out his pistol and shot it in the head.
Damn,
And dude, hogs are nothing to fuck with, dude.
they're
And
not.
those are everywhere. If you're in the southeast, I don't know about the rest of North America, but I know in the southeast, hogs are present, especially in your neck of the woods, Sky, because I've been
Bro.
there several times. And there's that main area right by your house. There's these massive pits that used to
Yeah,
hold water, and everything there is just turned up by hogs, dude.
yeah.
I've never.
Dude, it basically looked like that, fresh as shit. Like I was like out there at like midday. It looked like all that stuff got rooted up that morning. I was like,
Yeah.
sick.
No, pigs are those pigs are nothing to be fucked with, man. Um, so that's no, I don't mess with it. But all right, so I think
Yeah.
we've spent an hour talking about stories. What else? What else we got
Yeah, I got some
on
stuff
the
pulled up.
docket?
So one of the questions you had asked for the listeners was, what's some ideas for field herping and topics and stuff that they wanted to discuss. And a lot of people put in some good questions. I'll kind of go through them relatively quick. I won't spend too much time on them,
Yeah,
but I'll go through a couple and then I can kind of toss them out to you and tell me what you think. But we got Jack's wanting to know what's the best way to take some high quality photos of herps while you're in the field. Um, this was one of the items that I think we either skipped over or I don't know if we went over it last week, but
no,
a
no, we
collapsible silicone dog bowl is one of the best objects you can bring with you out in the field for getting pictures. And you're thinking, what the hell you use that for? So it collapses so you can store it easily in your backpack and it's lightweight. That's that part. The other part is when you pull it open, now you have a bowl to put over top of a snake or whatever herp you're trying to get a picture of. Put that over top of it, let it chill out for a second while you're getting your camera and your background and everything all set up. And then that's when you or your buddy pulls the top off and you take your quick little snapshots. And that's how you get a really good picture. I've spent 30 or so minute sessions for single animals before where we've sat there, with a bowl and the animal and a backdrop and a lighting and a flash, just getting that perfect angle. But sometimes that's what it takes is getting your camera settings right while the certain time of day or wherever you're at, getting your picture. But a really good tool is having a collapsible bowl with you. If you don't have a collapsible bowl, any kind of old Tupperware or something like that, a water bowl for a dog, anything like that can be used as a cover item to take pictures. Obviously, a high resolution camera is going to be your best bet if you can afford, a good Canon or
Yeah.
a Sony or Samsung and get some lens. That's always going to be your best option. But if you can't, you guys, iPhone does some cool things. Samsung does some cool things. I've taken some crazy quality photos when you kind of go in and mess with your settings or just go to a different setting other than photo.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you brought that up because the way I took that was more of a camera thing. And I used to do a bit of photography that was in a past life and I got pretty good at it, but I don't have my camera anymore for reasons I'm not going to get into. I have a camera here, but it's an older one and I can't get a battery charger for it for some fucking reason because it's old. But that is a big thing. If you're into taking pictures, definitely invest in a good camera. You don't have to spend a ton, but your base, DSLR cameras, your Nikon or your Canons, your cheaper ones are going to run anywhere from maybe three to five, $600, and that's just for the camera. You're going to spend another, depending on the quality of lens you get, because the lens is going to go a whole lot farther than you guys realize if you're not in photography, and your lens is just as or more expensive than your camera. So if you want to do that, definitely do a lot of research. There's a lot of really good like field cameras out there. There's certain ones, Nikon and Canon both make stuff that are really good for, birding, stuff that might be moving when you try and take a picture of it. Because that's a lot of things. Snakes a lot of times don't sit perfectly still. They'll be moving ever so slightly, even if it's like in the wind type of thing. So get something that, if you're looking for a camera, get something that has a very fast shutter speed and can, get you the photo that you want. I have a little bit of experience with cameras, but not a lot. But your lens goes a long way. Your camera body, get something that is, good. Um, Canon actually makes a camera that actually tracks the eye. You put it on, it's like a bird mode or something. It actually tracks the eyes of anything you want. And that's actually where you want to focus. So if you're actually getting into photography, that is a point to make. If you have a point focus camera, you know where to focus. You always want to focus on that eye because that's the thing that's going to get, blown out or blurry first. So put your focus on the eye and that'll do you pretty good. And Scott said, my lenses are 25 years old. I replace the SLR bodies every 4 years. And that goes to show, like, your DSLRs or your cameras and stuff, they can last well, but your lenses, or your SLR bodies, there's always stuff being upgraded. Your cameras don't last that long, but your lenses can last a very long time if you take care of them and you get the right lens. You're going to spend an arm and a leg doing it, but when you get the right one, you can take very, very high quality photos. I have some really good shots from back in the day when I used to do a lot of that. And I really want to get back into it eventually. Right now, it's just not in the cards. So
flash is another key
yeah,
important thing to bring it in with
that's a
that.
huge thing.
Your lens, your flash, and just getting your settings that your camera,
Yeah.
dialed in for what type of pictures you're taking. So
Yeah. And some people don't like to do it, but investing in a good editing software like Lightroom can also go a long way. So if you take a photo that's a little too dark, I wasn't big on severely editing my photos because I feel like that takes away, some of the quality of your picture. But if you take something, you want to just kind of up the brightness or your saturation, anything like that, you know, a good editing software can go a long way. Scott says he uses 3 flashes in his case. A flash goes a really long way, and one like Aiden had where it actually has a cover over it,
yeah,
makes your flash softer. That works so well. When I was photographing like in my snake room, I had an external flash and I would point it against the wall and that flash would bounce off the wall and create a very soft lighting on it and made for a really, really good photo. You don't want super harsh flash on it that can,
Give you glares and sharp
yeah,
lights and stuff.
yeah, it's not as good quality. So if you can invest in something that's like a soft lighting, that's really good too. Um, but I think we beat that dead horse enough.
Okay.
What's the next one?
So another one we have is discussing habitat loss in certain areas and field collecting in those areas to preserve a certain locality of a certain species. This is from Preston. And I know
I think
that's,
that was probably the best question, but also the hardest question.
yeah. So honestly, with that, you really got to think about the ethics of the area, the species itself, and, really just looking at the big picture of things. I think if you're looking at a smaller area, like say in a city that's, I don't know, pretty decent populated, and it's a whole new city coming up in an area that's close to a nature preserve, there's probably going to be a high population of animals in the surrounding area, even if it gets cleared out. So, is you going in and collecting a couple animals to preserve as a collected as a safety collection really going to do anything? I think it would be more of your personal. That's something more for you as a personal thing, because there's going to be a surrounding population still in that area. Now, if you're talking about an area that is completely, covered in city, and there's only this last little bit of habitat, and that's about to be turned into more city, then I feel like, okay, if there is any more snakes out here or whatever reptile it is you're after, if there is any more out there and the population has already diminished and there's already been this much population built up around the area, they're probably killed off by roadkill and by now and everything. Yeah, if you can go out into that area and find, that locality of area that's left over, then I feel like you'd be doing something. But if you're just going into an area that's just starting to get populated near, say it's near an animal preserve or just near open private property that's going to still be holding a good population of the animal, I don't think it's ethically right for you to go in and think that you're doing something by collecting a few animals and breeding them. Because at the end of the day, there's still going to be some in the wild. But if you're looking at a, overrun area, and this is the last little speck of land, this is Central Square Park, and they're about to pour it up and put the last little bits of apartments up, but there's a couple snakes that you can go out there and flip, save those things, man. That would be ethical.
Yeah, and I think with that we also need to specify, don't collect stuff with the intentions of re-releasing. Okay, there's very specific. Now if you are equipped to do something like that, absolutely, that's awesome, but there are, you don't, in your main collection you shouldn't just be catching snakes to re-release babies, because there's things in your collection that you may not know about, pathogens, anything like that, that you can be putting into the wild. Now if you are equipped to keep them completely separate, it's its own space, and your goal is to re-release, that's a different story, but there's a lot of specifications about that, and not even something that I'm qualified to tell you about. So message a professional if that's something you're interested in doing. Now, with that said, there's, if that's not on the aspect and you're more so just talking about field collecting in general, there's a couple things you need to take into the matter. Like you said, if it's a small area that's about to get leveled and you happen to go out there and you find some stuff and you want to collect, it's probably going to die either way. So if you want to collect that, depending on the species, of course, if you're allowed to keep it, all these, keep your local laws in mind. If you are allowed to do this, this is all legal, then I don't really see a problem with that. Now, if you are on a WMA in a national forest, now, especially in a national forest, if you're in a national forest or wildlife refugee area, you're not really supposed to take anything. So don't field collect, because those are preserved for those animals. Leave them be. Take your pictures, move on, interact with them, whatever. Try not to field collect. Now, if you're in a public area, I think it really, It really depends on the species. Now, if obviously people field collect for locality projects and all that, I've done it. I'm one of those guys that works localities. Some of these localities wouldn't be here without them. So it's kind of where your mindset is on it. If you're in a public area, populations are high. I think yellow rats are a pretty easy example. There's no shortage of yellow rats basically anywhere. So taking a couple yellow rats isn't going to hurt the population. You can establish a cool locality for the hobby. I'm not going to tell you that you should do it, but I'm also not going to tell you that you shouldn't. It's not going to hurt anything. But
It's
if
not
you're in
gonna
it,
hurt the
yeah,
bees.
if you find now, if you're in that area and you find something really rare, really hard to find, please don't take it.
Leave it.
Those things need to stay established in that area. Stuff like where pine snakes are hard to come by. Don't take pine snakes. In my area, eastern diamondbacks are hard to come by. So if you're in a certain area and you find an eastern diamondback, don't take it. Leave
Don't
it
kill
to
it.
be established in that area. Yeah, don't kill it. Don't take it. None of that stuff, because we need those things in our ecosystem. And the more that get taken out, that's one less that's going to be out there, not breeding, not reproducing, and populating that area. So it's kind of
It's definitely a situation and place by place kind of thing as much as
absolutely.
I probably worded it horribly, but that's
No,
kind
you
of
did.
like just you gotta it's only ethical depending on species and area. Because
Right.
if for it to be ethical, it has to have a purpose behind it. And if unless you can have a rock solid purpose behind what you're doing, then you're only just doing it for yourself.
Right.
So once
And
you
there,
figure that out, then you need to figure out whatever the species is, what the actual, like Jake's saying, if it's a yellow rat snake, you taking two of them or three of them, it's probably that many is going to get ran over in a certain area that
exactly.
week, anyways. So it's probably not going to hurt the population. But if we're talking, a heavily city area that's about to be leveled, they were going to die. So
Yeah.
you could
So like,
ethically say you did something.
right. So if there's an area that, and the only area in your county holds let's say pine snakes, pine snakes are rare where I'm at, but if there's this patch of area that I know holds pine snakes, I know it's about to be leveled and built into something, I wouldn't have an issue taking every pine snake I can find,
No, I'd
to
be
make
out there
sure
freaking.
it survives,
Yeah, I'd be out there road cruising, flipping, hiking, whatever I can.
right. But if I'm in a WMA, I know there can be pine snakes there, but they're kind of hard, and I happen to find one, you can bet your sweet tits I'm not taking it. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna love seeing that animal and observing it in its natural habitat and being so stoked to find it. But I would never even consider taking it. And Jack made a good point. Make sure you can keep something alive if you take it too. That's a big thing. If you're not equipped to take care of that animal, because wild caught animals are a whole different ball game than something captive bred. You got to know what you're doing with those in that aspect, and make sure you
You
know what
gotta have the
you're
right
doing.
quarantine area. You gotta
Yeah,
be able to, if you do have a collection already, you gotta be able to keep it away for a certain amount of time. Keep your collection safe. Keep that animal safe from your collection. It's definitely a lot more than just going out and catching some snakes and bringing them into your house.
yeah, there's a whole process to it, of being hands off, quarantining properly, treating the animal after a certain time. Don't treat it right away. You have to realize what's inside of that snake. And over time, yes, you might want to get it out, but you also don't want to just nail it with all this shit immediately to try and get it parasite free for you
No,
to plug
that'll
into your breeding program. That's not an okay thing to do. You will kill that thing immediately. So just know what you're getting into when it comes to stuff like that, and if you don't know what you're doing, leave it to the guys who do and get some captive bred offspring later on, you know.
always go
Uh,
captive bred if you can.
so along with that, in the same comment that Preston left, he said, also, what can we do to further prevent these losses? And I think by that he means like habitat losses. And that's a really hard question. I've been thinking about it all week since he posted that. I've been thinking about,
Yeah.
how to how can we help that? And some of the other things I can think of are supporting your local areas who, foundations, anything like that, or even as simple as if you're like me and you herp WMAs, go get your public land hunting license. I don't remember the exact term, but if you hunt public land, you have to have a certain hunting license that says you can do that. So if you're going on WMAs, get that. Support your WMAs. It's not a lot of money. It's like $15, but get it and support those things because all that money goes back into the WMA. And so make sure you're doing that, because if technically you don't have to have it to go out there because you're not hunting, you're looking for snakes, whatever. But that money goes towards the WMAs and it keeps them going. We need areas like that to stay there and stay sustained, and they need funds from us. So if there's a way to support your local refugees, your WMAs, do that to make sure they stay there. You can say, yes, you're one person, what's my one hunting license going to do in the grand scheme of things? If everybody said that, we would be fucked. But if 100,000 people don't say that, then we're not,
Exactly.
So there's a lot more that goes into it, what are your thoughts on that, Sky? How can we help habitat loss in our local areas?
I'll be honest with you, I couldn't even come up with a good answer, so I was gonna just skip that part of the question. Dude, I don't know. That's one of the biggest defeating things I feel is what do we even do as for habitat loss? And part of me thinks, hey, let's go out there and tear apart some of this construction equipment and fight back the real way, fight fire with fire. But that's not going to do anything. That's only going to get people in trouble. So I really don't know, man. It's all a lot of this stuff is put into plan and put into stone a lot longer and before it's even put in, before they put equipment to the ground. So us going out there and trying to say stop it isn't really doing much. So I
No,
really
don't.
don't know for the habitat last part of stuff. That's such a big fight, man.
Right, and it's hard because money talks.
Yeah, and I
If
mean we're just a
somebody
couple of
throws,
guys. We
yeah,
can't even get enough money through US Arc together with the whole community, but we're supposed to all come together to stop habitat loss. It's definitely hard.
yeah, and Jack,
Volunteering for cleanups, that's a good way to do
yeah,
it. I
and
mean,
donate to nonprofits. You have to do what you can, man. Like, you're one person, you can only do so much. But again, if a lot of people do their minimum, that makes a big impact. Volunteer for river cleanups, donate to nonprofits. Those are really good things to help fight the good fight. You're not going to do anything by going out there and chaining yourself to a tree. It's
no.
not going to do any good. And at the end of the day, money talks. And if you have these contractors paying millions and millions of dollars to put a Starbucks in this one cleared or in this piece of property that houses these specific frogs or these specific turtles or this specific snake, there's not much we can do, but we can do something. And you have to do something. You not doing anything isn't helping anything. So donate to what you can, volunteer where you can, help where you can, and it's something, you know. And Robert makes a good point. Vote for the politician you think will actually help you. I'm not a big political guy, but vote for the right guy. It's a hard. I'm not going to touch on that a whole lot because that's a hard thing to discuss. But if there's somebody that promotes that kind of thing, there usually aren't. But if there is, maybe vote for him. You know, but I don't know.
Yeah, dude. It's just one of those
It's
bigger
it's a,
things that we don't really have control of that we would need
yeah,
lawyers and millions of dollars for.
yep. Developers with money always win, as Mike
Yeah.
said. But also Scott made a good point. Back on the field collecting thing, he said, read the roadkill comment. If you take 3 and 3 still die on the road, that's 6 gone from the ecosystem versus 3. The question is if that population can sustain additional loss of those predators. That's a very good point and something to think about. So if you take something, that's something else that's gone on top of the stuff that's going to get run over, because that's
Yeah.
going to happen. You're going to get a lot of roadkill. So think about that kind of thing. Stuff's always going to get run over, and if you just say, "Oh, it's going to die anyways," that's not necessarily true. Your adults have a better survival rate than the babies. As far as survival, not by humans, but as far as that goes, yeah, you're right. I found a million snakes dead on the road, but I've also not collected a bunch of snakes that I've caught. So and like he said, it's all about species specific. Can the ecosystem support you taking can the ecosystem support 6 being gone versus 3? So it's something you need to realize, and that's also why we also want to promote getting out there and seeing what's there, like to know your local area, know what's abundant in your area, especially if you have any intentions on field collecting. I'm not big on field collecting. Yes, I work with a lot of locality animals. I did not collect the large majority. I have before. I am okay to admit that. But it's also been stuff that I know for a fact 1000% are very, very well sustained in my area. That's not a question. So just something to think about if you want to field collect. Just wanted to touch on that one more time. Um,
Yeah, that's those were both loaded
yeah,
questions.
they're definitely loaded questions. But we're gonna move on because we are getting up to an hour and a half, so we need to keep this ball rolling. Zach with Queen City Constrictors asks how to plan herping trips away from home, like how to find herping spots. I went to San Diego last year, got really lucky to meet some avid field herpers and got to see a ton of the Southwest species thanks to them. This one can be kind of a quick go over. Planning as far as areas. I think we talked about it a little bit in episode 1. If you want to herp an area, go on Google Maps, go to some type of overview map to where you can look at areas, find roads that are kind of secluded away from houses and developments and all that. That's a good way to scope out roads. You can find trash piles on Google Maps and stuff like that. Locate those, go check them out. Make sure you're on public land, places you're allowed to be, public roads if you're road cruising. That's a good way to plan that out. If you're planning something out, you can do the same thing. Like if you want to go to a certain area in Florida, kind of look around that area a lot and see
Use your iNat.
Yeah, iNat's also a really good thing. So that's a really good way to kind of
Just get a little
look that
gauge
out.
on
Yeah.
stuff.
And if you want to explore it, but you don't have a specific area in mind, if you're in the hobby, talk to people out of your state. If you want to go to say, if I go to Florida all the time, I don't really go to Florida just exploring by myself. I know people in certain areas of Florida and I want to go see them and they know areas. So if you know people in those areas, definitely start with that. They're going to know the area better than anybody else. So definitely hit up people locally. Locals are definitely the best way to go. But if you happen to be on a family vacation, you got some time, you don't know anybody in the area, pull up your maps and look for secluded roads, trash piles, stuff like that. It can be productive. So something to think about for that. Our buddy Ryan Cox said, talk about the ethics of leaving cover. I know some people hate the idea of leaving tin, PVC sheets, or old carpet to attract herps. Say you're ruining the environment with human garbage. So that one, we talked about that a little bit in episode 1, but I think with that, if it's already there, we talked about the micro habitats, micro ecosystems under all of those things. If it's already there, it's already established. I'm personally not going to remove it, but I'm also not going to add to it unless it's my private property and I'm putting out pieces of tin, something that's not hurting anything, but it's providing habitat. Um, but if something's already there, unless it's a threat to the ecosystem, then I will remove it. But it's something that's not a threat to our ecosystem, then I will go explore it, flip it over, all that stuff. But then again, of course, make sure you put it back exactly the way you found it. Again, we talked about that, and we're going to beat that dead horse for the years that we do this podcast. Always put your stuff back when you're out herping, whether it's a rug, a piece of tin, a rock, a car hood, any of those things. Just put them back the way you found it. It's the big thing. Don't add to it, especially if it's public land. It's not private property. Um, you know, so make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to be placing stuff out there, make sure it's your property. You have permission to do it. Um, if you're actually placing stuff, but I don't really see anything being wrong with not removing certain pieces that are creating their own ecosystem. Again, if it's not hurting the actual environment. Um, so that's a good thing to buy. Always put your stuff back. That's the biggest thing, though, to take from anything. Always put it back the exact way you found it to the best of your ability.
Chaz had sent a little chat and mentioned being careful using the iNaturalist and what you post and stuff, just species wise and
Yeah,
area wise,
sure.
because a lot of poachers also use that
Mm-hmm.
site. So using that site responsibly is key because it could be used as a weapon as much as it could be used as a tool.
Absolutely.
So just be responsible with your resources and with what you're doing and where you're herping, and yeah, be respectful to the environment even if it is a trash pile, because one man's trash is another animal's mansion.
And
Remember
another,
that.
and another herper's treasure.
And it's our treasure, but
Yeah,
it's an ecosystem regardless of
exactly.
what it looks like. It's an ecosystem because it's
Yeah,
now been laid out there for other animals to use. So like Jake's saying, we talked about it in the first episode. When you flip something, there's usually a outline of where it was flipped. You can put it back in the
you can
outline.
put it back. Yeah. Scott said I use Herp Mapper rather than INAT due to poaching. Herp Mappers is something that I'm semi familiar with. I've never used it myself, but I had a buddy that used it a lot. Herp Mapper is a good one. It's basically for herpers. So that's something good to check out. I don't use INAT for that exact reason. I use INAT for my benefit, but I don't post on INAT at all. Never have, probably never will, because of that exact reason. I don't want people, number one, knowing my spots, number two, knowing where to find a certain species if they're looking to collect it. So something to think about. Um, but moving on from that, we got one. What's your process of finding new areas to herp? That's kind of the
I feel like we
same
kind of
thing,
beat that
to,
one already
yeah, for
using
sure.
those techniques. You had some other questions that I was wanting to bring up that some people were hitting on too, which was, what do you prefer more, road cruising or hiking?
That was
And
another question I asked for everybody. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like not only that's a very loaded question because I take that in, you hit on it, time of day, time of year, and whatever weather front may be coming through, because I feel like we've herped together enough to where I could talk as one, like we use the same technique, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
basically you know we will literally change up our strategy throughout the day, throughout the weekend, throughout whatever area we're hitting, based off of our target and just based off the weather pattern. So you got to not only know your area, know what you're looking for, but know what's going to work best. If it just rained and we're wanting to cover a good area, and you know we only have an hour and a half, 2 hours before it gets dark, why would we go out on foot? We're getting in our car, we're going to go road cruise as much blacktop and dirt roads as we can before it gets dark. If it's first thing in the morning and the sun's coming up and we're coming up on the first, we're an hour or 2 hours before the prime heat of the day, I'm going to want to be out on foot scoping around different areas, seeing what's coming out for the day while it's still a little bit cold, coming out to find its basking spot rather than it already being charged up and out on the move. So knowing the time of day, knowing, what pressure front or weather front you have coming and what time of year, it's all going to vary on what's going to work best for you. For me, summertime and late spring is when I am road cruising the most because I can cover a ton more ground. And, it's not only is it super hot out in Florida, so trudging around in that weather kills me, but you also have a lot more luck because stuff's warm and it's moving. So
But you
covering the ground.
also you also don't like even during the prime months, I never road cruise like at noon.
No, God,
I
no.
don't road
Nighttime.
cruise in the middle of the
Nighttime.
day, you know,
End
that's
of day and
when
nighttime.
it's prime time season, middle of spring, it's getting cold in the kind of cold in the evenings, but getting really warm during the day. That's when I'll do both. I'll spend the late morning throughout the whole day hiking. And Scott made a good point. You learn more by hoofing it. You know, when you're out there walking around, you learn a lot more about your environment, about the snakes, what they're doing, all that. So definitely take the time to hike and get boots on the ground and all that. But during that prime month of spring, I'll hike during the day, and then as soon as I'm done with my hike, sun's going down,
Road cruise
I hit the
time.
road cruise. So your golden there's a golden hour. That golden hour is 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after sunset. That's when you're going to see the most movement. Now, I have seen stuff an hour before sunset and up to hour and a half after sunset. So there's nothing to say you're not. Once you cruise that hour, you can be done. You can definitely find stuff late, a little later into the night, a little earlier, out there. So my thing is I usually don't go out an hour before sunset. I'll go about 30, 45 minutes before sunset and cruise that kind of dusk time. An hour, sometimes an hour, it just really depends on the day. But after sunset, give it a solid hour once the sun is down to go, and you'll see stuff, and you'll see it drop off. As somebody who has road cruised for miles on miles on miles, I've had days that we found 20, 30 snakes road cruising, but as soon as that 30 minutes to an hour after sunset hits, it's like everything cuts off. And you'll see the occasional copperhead, maybe the occasional water snake, something like that, but you really see numbers drop off once you hit a certain time in the evening. Don't bother road cruising at 3 a.m. You
Yeah.
might find certain
Sometimes during
species,
the
but
summer, there's like those second waves at
yeah,
night though, where you'll have, what you're talking about exactly, where you'll have that real prime hour, hour and a half, and then it'll drop off. But then right around 9:30, 10 o'clock, you'll have another hour or two period where stuff moves again. And that's usually right before the dew point in the middle of the night starts to come
right.
through and hit all the trees and the grass and everything. So you'll see that little bit of movement then. So I normally tend to freaking log it out and haul it out, and I usually cruise till around 10 or 11, and then
Yeah,
usually when it's around 10 or 11 and I haven't seen nothing for 30 minutes to an hour, that's when I'm pulling the plug. But
yeah. And
yeah,
that and that's more your late summer stuff
yeah,
because
but yeah,
spring,
that's all summer, midsummer when you got your heat index at night, you could go out and laser temp the ground and it's still
right.
79, 80 degrees. So
Right. So those times of year is definitely good. And even then, like, so we're talking North America here. Scott's in the chat, and he said
yeah.
we still get snakes moving at 3 a.m. here in Australia. And that's, know where you're at. We're talking North American herpers and, all this stuff in Australia. It gets very, very hot. And there are more nocturnal species in Australia. So you get snakes moving at 3 a.m. and stuff like that. So know your area, know the type of species you're looking for. At 3 a.m. here, even dead summer, there's not going to be a lot of stuff moving.
The
Like
only place I can guarantee to catch a snake at 3 a.m. in Florida would be the Everglades, and it's going to be a Burmese
Burmese
python
python.
or a water snake. And
Exactly.
I've caught the latest I've caught a Burmese python was I think like 5 in the morning, and the latest I've caught a water snake was probably like saying like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So those things are up all night in the middle of the summer, and they usually hunker away and sleep during the middle of the day when it's boiling out. So
Yeah. And that's the other thing because that's the other thing when you're hiking. If it's in the middle of the summer, you haven't had a rain in several days. It's 100 degrees out. Feels like it's 110 if you're in the southeast. I don't really bother hiking those days because
no,
I'm just
you're
going to be
wasting your
miserable.
time.
Because that's another thing to kind of think about. If you go out there and you're hot, they're hot. If it's hot to you, it's hot to them. That it's you got to keep that in mind. If you're cold, they're probably cold. So it's something to keep in mind. We definitely want to condone getting out there. If you just want to get out, then yeah, go out there and just enjoy nature, be happy in it. But if you're out there looking for snakes and it's 110 degrees out, you're probably not going to find much.
You're
But
wasting your time.
yeah, but again, it depends on species. Now, if you're doing that, know how to find them. It's not to say they're not there, but you got to know exactly where to look, and how to find them in those
Mid
type of extreme temperatures.
mid spring last year, I think it was April. It's either April or yeah, I think it was April. Mid April is when Preston and Aiden were down, and we caught that female coach whip out sunning at, I think it was like 11:10 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
11:10 on the dot, not like 11 or 10. And I think the outside temp was 92 degrees. So
Mm-hmm.
the sand temp was probably 115, if not hotter. And that snake was out basking, fully charged up, ready to go. So, like Jake's saying, know your species, because there might be that one or two things that you have a small 1 or 2 hour window before you hit peak heat of the day where you can go out and see some stuff.
Yeah,
But there's no point in being out when it's 100 degrees at 1:30 in the afternoon,
yeah. If
boiling
I
your balls.
if I'm trying to hurt midsummer, I'm going out first thing in the morning because like again, midsummer, your things are going to be moving late at night, really early in the morning. So
Like
I'm going to go
sunrise.
out. Yeah, I'm going out at sunrise if I'm trying to find a snake, and I'm herping till 10, 11 o'clock because by 12, it's getting hot. By 3 o'clock, it's
Baking.
baking out there, and everything's going to be tucked away, So stuff to keep in mind. Time of year, storm fronts. Now, again, middle of the summer, if a big storm comes through, you can bet your sweet ass I'm going to be out there.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, I'm going to be out there.
Yep.
But so again, just keep track of your weather patterns, your moon phases, all that stuff. It's good things, good thing to know. So you got guys that are more road cruising oriented, some guys that are more hiking oriented. There's nothing wrong with either one. Try to do both, but know which one's going to be more active for the time of day you want to go and all that. And again, Scott said some stuff specializes in the middle of the day. In
Mary
the
Poppins.
summer, know your target. So know your target.
Fucking Mary Boppins.
That's me, baby.
Oh God. No,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
definitely know your
that's
target.
basically what we're saying is, we're agreeing with everything that, Scott and everyone in the chat saying, you can take away a lot more and learn a lot more about your environment by throwing the boots on the ground. You can cover a lot more area and accomplish a lot more if you're hitting the road at the right times in the right periods.
Yeah.
So,
And with all that said, I have definitely found way more snakes road cruising than I have hiking. I have found a ton of snakes hiking. Don't get me wrong. I've hiked up a lot of snakes. I flipped a lot of snakes. But road cruising has always been way more productive for me.
yeah, same.
And plus, you get to sit in a truck with AC. So,
Yeah.
you know, but
That's
uh,
why you gotta have the best of both worlds and mix it up and do the hiking in the morning, road cruising at night, and mix it up so you get both.
absolutely. So I think that's about the questions that we got the most interactiveness out of, at least people who had questions for us.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people answer questions that I was asking for your personal thing, like locations and all that. So if you're curious about anything like that, check out the page, go through some of the people's comments, asked about locations, non-snake herps that you want to find, or some of your favorite ones to find, So check out the page if you're interested in any of that. We're not going to go over it on the episode because we're running a little low on time. Um, did we want to hit some equipment stuff that I
Yeah,
got?
because yeah, well, before you talk about some of the stuff you got that you had just got in, a couple things that we either skipped over or forgot to mention last week was the one that I wanted to bring up to bring in the hurt pack was the collapsible dog bowl for helping you
Yeah,
take your pictures, and then another listener, I think it was Hunter, he had messaged in talking about the life straw. That is going to be a super key thing to keep in your pack while you're out herping, depending on what area you're in. If you do run out of water or, you get yourself
especially
in a
if you're
bind.
on like an extended trip.
Yeah, if
Like
you're
if
on
you're
a
going to be out in the desert
weekend,
for a week,
yeah,
or in the
weekend or 3 to
swamps.
5 days, that thing, that'll literally, it's a life straw. It's called that for a reason. So that's a good, cheap investment. And, you could always, if you get yourself in a bind, you could always refill a whole water bottle with that, doing like a, slurp and spit technique. So keep your mind open to whatever options you can use to survive out in the woods. Damn, there was another one that I totally spaced on. But there was like three more equipment pieces. the collapsible water bowl, the life straw, and something else. I'll probably brain fart it, but it'll pop up into my brain. But yeah, I forget what else we wanted to go over.
Well, Mike asked in the chat, "What's the smallest snake you've ever spotted road cruising?" My personal smallest was a pinewood snake that was all of maybe 4 inches, 5 inches, something like that. And it was funny when I found that I actually stopped for another really small species. It was a rough earth snake. I spotted it and it was small, but then I just happened to look up and I shined my light and there's another itty bitty little snake I saw up there. I ran over. That thing was, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches long. Um, so that was my smallest species for sure.
The chat's getting me on the whole slurp technique, bro. Y'all ain't never done the slurp and spit. It's a life straw technique, you guys. Look it up. All right.
It's not a life straw technique. It's Sky's life technique, baby. Oh my god.
If you
But
die while herping free handlers. Oh god.
oh man.
So what equipment did you get in so far?
So I've since the first episode, I went a little bunkers with getting my pack ready because I got this. The first episode just got me so hyped for everything. I went and spent way too much money on a bunch of shit. But I'm also very happy with it. I'm real good with where I've gotten. So the first thing I got was the same backpack you have. It's also
Teton.
doubles as a camelback. You said Teton.
Yep.
Okay, I definitely pronounced that wrong. I was looking at it as Tenton.
It could be Tenton. I don't know how to read.
Teton. Teton. Teton.
Teton.
I don't know. So it's basically it's a backpack that also has a water reservoir in it. So it's a camelback backpack kind of duo. It's awesome. I really, really like it. It's got a little whistle on one of the things there. And yeah, it's really comfy, lightweight, a lot of storage, and it's got a camelback. So just instead of fill it with monster.
Dude,
Maybe
if we
you
do
will.
that, he's gonna be out there doing deforestation, just punching trees down left and right. Bop, bop, bop.
Yeah, I'll go full Kyle.
Oh my god.
So that was the first thing I wanted to add. It was a good bag with water capacity in it. So that was great. I got that in. It's awesome. I used it the other week while I was out there in the field. The other thing I ordered with that was I did some. We talked about a first aid kit on here last week. Which, by the way, if you haven't listened to the first episode, definitely check that out. We go over a lot more stuff about equipment and all that. And so I was doing some looking on Amazon for a good first aid kit. Again, first aid kits you can put together yourself. You don't have to buy one. But Amazon actually has a lot of options for really cheap. I'm talking like 10, $12. And you're probably going to put that into making your own first aid kit. So I got a first aid kit that came with this nice carry case. It's got, a zipper on it. It's water resistant and all that. And it's like, let me find it. It's like 120-piece kit or something like that. It works really well, and it just so happens to fit perfectly in the front of the bag that I got. So it just worked out even better. So I got that. It's got a ton of stuff in it, from scissors to this mini I can't think of the name right now. Something the thing that you put on, if you got a cut on your forearm, you put it on your bicep to stop the blood flow as much.
Oh yeah,
I don't
tourniquet.
Tourniquet. Yes, it's got like a mini tourniquet in it. Bunch of band-aids, all the stuff that it comes with. And Jack wants to know it comes with an eye patch. It comes with big band-aids. So, push comes to shove, I can do that. So I got that, but it's got a ton of equipment in it, and it's got like I said, it's got like a water resistant case on it. It works really well, and I went and bought my own little thing of Advil, and I poured it into a bag and shoved that in there because I'd be getting headaches when I'm in the sun for too long. So that's in there, and then I also want to get some Benadryl throw in there, but it's got a ton of stuff. But Amazon has a lot of like handheld options, really in small bags, stuff that can fit in your backpack. So check that out if you don't feel like putting your own together. It's probably going to cost about the same at the end of the day. Like I said, this one's even got a mini pair of scissors, all types of like long, like the bandage that you can actually wrap around. That's also got band-aids. So I went and picked that up because it was like, I think the one I got was $12.
Yeah, I think they're 10 or $12.
Yeah, they're super cheap and fits perfectly in the bag. So I got that along with the backpack. And then I bought a new headlamp and a new flashlight. Both of them are made by Coast. I got the headlamp in, and I like the headlamp so much. I also ordered a flashlight because I want another flashlight. So the headlamp is sick. With the Coast, I went with Dustin's recommendation on that. With the Coast, it's got 4 different settings. It's got a low, a medium, and a high. And then it's got a I don't remember what they call it. Like it's like a nitro almost. You hold it down and it gets really bright, and it's sick. It's really really bright. You're gonna run out of battery really quick with that.
Jake said, "Put it on." Or
Uh,
Jack.
it's in my bedroom. If y'all really want me to do that, I can go grab it, but it's in the other room at the moment. So that's really awesome. It was one of their brighter ones. So it's awesome. I actually used it the other night. I was outside grilling in the dark, and I was like, "Ooh, I can use my headlamp." So I
I
put
got
that
a
sucker
headlamp for
on, and I was
this.
using that to flip chicken and stuff. It was awesome,
Oh yeah.
So that works really well. And the other cool thing about the Coast is the light on the headlamp. You can actually take that off, and it can also work as a handheld light if you want. So that was cool. Like I said, 4 different settings on it. And the cool thing about the Coast is, we talked a little bit about regular batteries versus rechargeable batteries. This comes with both. So if you order, certain ones don't come with the rechargeable battery, but with the one I got, it comes with this big battery that you can charge by itself to run the headlamp. And then it comes with this cylinder that you can put AAA batteries into to replace that. It's like this big set. Like the battery itself is like that big around, but it comes with a cylinder that you put AAA's into, and it's the same size, and you can run your light based on that.
That's
So it's kind of, I thought it was really cool. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So my plan is to charge up the main battery
and
when
then
I go
have
on a
that
trip.
backup.
Yeah, and then have the backup batteries. With that, I also bought a big pack of AAA batteries to keep in my bag.
Fuck yeah.
So that was awesome. And then the handheld flashlight I got is also made by Coast. That's really cool. It's got the same 3 different settings on it. It's super bright, and on both of them you can I'm not going to call it a zoom, but you can make it more of a bullseye or a broad spectrum.
Yeah,
So you can make it
the
really broad, or you can zoom in and have it more,
I
honed in
forget
on
what
one
they call
spot.
that, scoping or fucking
Yeah, it's like a scope or something like that.
yeah.
Telescoping. So you can do that with both of them. With the headlamp, you just turn a knob and it focuses on the flashlight. You actually pull it out and it'll go where you want. And then on the flashlight, when you do that, you can turn it and it'll lock into place, so you can't pull it in or out again.
Jack the shaft back and forth.
Oh my god, I can't with you. Uh, but the lumens on it, Jack, I'd have to look.
I think it was like 1250 or something, right?
The headlamp I got is no, the headlamp I got was 2075.
Okay.
So 2075
Oh, that's
lumens.
right. Yeah, because you were debating on which one you should get, and I was like, bro, get the big one. What are you
Yeah,
stupid?
I spent the little extra money, got the more powerful one. But again, that only works when it's on like super mode. You hold it down, that's the brightest it gets.
Or like Chris
Um,
said, ludicrous mode.
yeah, exactly. And then the flashlight, I don't remember, but I know it's very similar, if not the same. It might even be more. I can't remember. I might have to pull that up. The flashlight's very bright. I actually just found the first aid kit I got. It's doesn't say how many pieces there is, but there's a bunch. Um,
But there's pieces in it.
yeah, there's a lot. So, but yeah, the flashlight itself also very bright,
As
and it
soon as
works
I
out
get
great.
as soon as I get some more play money, I'm gonna be getting that
Yeah.
Phoenix shit in.
Oh yeah, because we
I
definitely need to
freaking
compare those.
for the light I want and the headlamp I want, it's gonna be close to like I think it's like 400 and something bucks. So
Hey, Lee. Yeah,
that's why I was
no,
like, all right, yeah, when I get another good paycheck, I'll buy it.
and that's also why I decided to go with Coast, because there's a lot of good reviews on it. A lot of people swear by them, and they were a little bit more affordable than Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I'm a cheap bastard, so I had to get what I could afford at the time.
It's cool, bro. You wanted to
So
buy the cheap one first, so I had no option but to get the expensive one for the future.
you already said you wanted Phoenix, so I was like, I guess
No,
that
no,
means I
it's
gotta get
cool.
Coast.
It's
Yeah,
cool. I'll
you
shell
just
it out for the
yeah,
Phoenix. Then we
that's
can
fine.
trade.
Yeah. But no, I'm really excited to use them. I have a flashlight that stays in my truck. It's a Bushnell, but it's really small. It's not that bright. It dies really fast. So yeah, whatever. I wanted a new flashlight to keep in my bag and then have my other one in the truck. But yeah, Coast flashlight was awesome. Both of them are great products. Work really well. And the Coast or the Close actual handheld flashlight, it was the same deal. It takes a rechargeable battery and it takes the AAA's and that cylinder, but the rechargeable batteries are different. They're not the same type, not the same size battery. One's a little skinnier and longer, the other one's shorter and thicker. Sky, I'm sure you know how that
Thick,
goes.
yeah.
But
What battery
so
are you?
that's none of your business. AAA, baby. No. But so they both work very, very well. So definitely check out Coast. They have a ton of different flashlights, dude. Like a ton of different flashlights. So research them if you want to get a Coast. Go on their website. I bought mine off Amazon because
Why not?
Amazon's great. But check them out. They work great. Very, very bright. I kind of used it in my room with all the lights off, and it lit up my entire room on like medium mode. And I was like, holy shit, this is nuts. And then I went outside and turned the lights off outside, and I put it on the the ludicrous mode, and it literally lit up my entire backyard
Hell yeah.
off of my headlamps. I was like, holy smokes.
Dude, we're about to be herping, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm super excited to get that, used in the field. Um Trying to think what else. And then the other main, I think those were the three things or the four things for like the pack I got. Like I said, I bought, a big old pack of AAA batteries to keep in the bag. And then, of course, last but not least, I did get a stump ripper. I ended up getting a animal equipment by Stony. Most of you will know just a Stony stump ripper. So I got the Stony. It worked great. I tested it out in the field last weekend. It was awesome. I've actually never used a stump ripper before, but a lot of people swear by them. And we talked about sizing a little bit and last week. So I actually went and measured my field hook that I've been using for a long time in the field. And because I love that size, and it was 38 inches, I know we were talking, 40 to 48 is kind of your standard size. Again, me being on a little bit of a shorter side, I went with what I was comfortable with, and I was used to using a 38-inch hook. So I bought the 38-inch stump ripper. And that's the cool thing about Stony. Your main distributors of stump rippers are going to be Midwest and your Stony. Midwest, a little bit more expensive, and they only come in one or two sizes, and I believe they were like 48 or 52 inches. Damn. Which is, it's too long for me. It's not comfortable for me. I like to use
Be
mine
holding
like
that shit like a wizard staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like something a little shorter. There's pros and cons to shorter versus longer, but
that's what she said.
Okay. I knew that was coming. But I went for 38 inches, and like I said, I'm about 5'9". And
it's
it
a big
works.
ask out of a guy like you.
Yeah, exactly. So I went for that, and the good thing with the Stony is they go anywhere from 24 inches up to like 52, I think, maybe 54. So there's a ton of options with Stony. And it's got two grips on it. One, your normal handle, and then a little bit below that, there's another grip for extra leverage if you're trying to pull something up that's heavier. And the reason I went with them, I have a buddy who swears by them. He loves his Stony stump ripper. And he said his buddy also has one, and his buddy just about ran over his with his truck and didn't even put a scratch in it.
Hell yeah.
So definitely a solid hook, and that kind of sold me. Like I said, a little bit cheaper than Midwest, but some people just swear by Midwest across the board. So Midwest is also a great product. I was talking to my buddy Harry about it, Harry Claiborne. You should know him if you don't.
I know him.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm talking in general. He's a big Midwest guy. So I know, Sky, you were talking about getting your buddy to make you one. So Harry's talking about possibly getting a Midwest. If he gets a Midwest, when I go to see him at the end of March, we're going to do like a little comparison video of those two.
Compare sticks.
Yeah, that's right. Compare sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be cool. But again, it's all personal preference, what you like. And I like the variation with the Stony of the different sizes and what you can get out of them. So great product. Super happy with it. It was great using it in the field. It worked super well. So that was, I think that's everything I acquired. I used up all my extra play money plus some to get all that stuff. So I was very happy to kind of start getting my pack together. There's still a few things I want to get. I want to get an extra temp gun to keep in the bags. I have a temp gun that I use here. I don't really want to.
Yeah, that was what I was doing. I was like, all right, I'm not going to be able to remember to take this in and out every time. I'm just going to go buy an extra one next time I'm at Lowe's or something. So
yeah, so that's the next thing I want to get to keep in the herp bag is a temp gun.
I couldn't remember if this was the third thing that I forgot or if we brought it up, but a compass. I couldn't remember if we brought that up last week or not.
We didn't bring up a compass, but we brought up having
I remember we brought up having the GPS, but I mean, when that thing fails, I have a pocket knife with the butt of the pocket knife
Yeah.
is a screw off compass and everything. And that has actually come in handy twice now that I've had that. So, and it's just a cool thing to have. You can always, check
Yeah.
on it if you wanted. So, compass is also something you want to throw in your bag. Always be prepared for the worst. You'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, be
Exactly.
of that mindset.
Yep. Definitely. So that's definitely something I want to add. I'll probably look into getting a compass. And I would like to get a handheld GPS, but those are pretty pricey for a good one.
Yeah, I
And
totally said it wrong last episode too. I said a global GPS, which what the hell do you think GPS stands for? Global positioning system. I meant to say a a satellite GPS, which is one that you can use anywhere without service, which is
yeah,
what I was trying to get to.
yeah.
Not a global GPS, because
I
that's a
think
fucking
people
GPS. But
I think people knew what you were talking
yeah,
about.
so I wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that. If you are looking in for a serious GPS system, definitely go for a satellite one.
Yeah.
Satellite phone, satellite GPS system, something like that to where you could be at the bottom of the Grand Canyon and call your grandma if you needed to. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's everything I got. There's still a few things to get. GPS will probably be towards the end of stuff I get.
yeah, because like we said, that's for if you're going out on excursions. The places we
Right.
herp, we're not going that deep into the
Yeah.
woods. If I ever were to be serious about that, it would be if I, plan to go rogue in the Everglades again, because that was literally the only time I've ever needed it where I was actually, without a source of direction and had no idea where the flip I was at. So that would have been great. But other than that, you're probably not going to need it at your local herping spots or, your local walks or your day trips or whatever. So be smart with your money, be smart with what you're getting, get stuff
Yeah.
you're going to use, but also get the things that will be handy if the worst were to happen. So,
Exactly.
you know, all we got to say is get out there and flip some tin, you guys. Before we go, we want to, give our first challenge to the viewers,
Yeah.
which we know everyone's kind of, depending on where you're at or where you're listening from. We know a lot of you guys are over on some of you, most of you are on the easter side of the state. So a lot of us are able to get out and see some stuff. But for, everyone that's in the colder part of the country, the challenge is going to be to get out and just make an animal observation or
Yeah.
make an observation in nature that you can, that is something notable. Like,
Yeah.
for example, I lost those three racers, but I was able to bring back the information of each time I witnessed it.
Yeah.
So therefore, I was able to bring back tons of knowledge. So go out, even if you can't get hands on a herp, see what you can see in the wild, put yourself in a spot where you want to see yourself catching a herp in the next month or two when spring is in full swing and stuff's going to be moving. Count it as a scout trip if you want to. Just get out there, see some birds, listen to nature, put yourself in the sun. Just get that first observation. Write us in on the page. Tell us if you've seen anything. If you had a cool observation like mine where you couldn't get hands on something, but you still could bring something back, write it in. We want to talk about this stuff. We want this pod to be connected with you guys. Do we want to sit here and ramble about us? You probably don't want to hear that every time. So we want this to be about all of you guys. Give us some of your content so we can talk about it. That way we can all grow as one and we can all learn as a group. You telling us your stories is going to be able to help us grow, and us telling you our stories, is going to be able to let you guys laugh at how retarded we are. But and
Yeah.
all, get out in the woods, get an observation, whether it's through your eyes or with your hands, and tell us about it so
Yeah.
we can, you know, share with everyone else
Yeah.
and see what you got going on and what else is going on in the country right now this
Yeah.
time of year. Because you guys know what's going on where Jake lives and you know what's going on where I live. So what's going on where you live? We want
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah. We want to hear it all. Again, it doesn't have to, I don't care if it's snowing by you. Go out in the snow, get out in
Yeah.
the woods, Tell us what you see. I don't care if it's I watched this grasshopper for 10 minutes and it did this and it did that. I don't care whether it's birds, bugs, if it happens to be herps, that's even awesome. That's even better, but we want to hear about it. So the big thing here that we're trying to promote is just getting out in nature, and that doesn't always have to be finding a herp. Just get out there and observe your local fauna and learn about it. So you just get out in the woods. Our first challenge is it's an easy one.
It's an easy one.
It's
We're
not
making
going
it
to take.
easy on you guys.
We're gonna making it easy this time. They're gonna get harder. Okay, they're gonna get harder, and we're
You
gonna
might
get
have to
less.
work for it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work for it as we go on. But that's our first challenge for you. This this episode is just get in the woods, get out there. What? I don't look like an axe murderer.
Oh
That's
God.
rude. But yeah, just get out in the woods and then please write it in. If you write us, we're going to talk about it on the podcast. We're going to tell you what you do. And eventually we're not going to do it with this, but eventually as these get a little bit more in depth, we're asking more specifics. We might, if you write us in, we'll put your name in a hat and do a giveaway or something.
Yeah.
It's going to be down the road, but go ahead and get used to writing us in
Yeah.
and telling us about what you experienced. And then down the road, we'll make it fun, and, yeah, Sky's challenge this week is to go catch the
Dude,
racer.
that is 100% my challenge. I'm coming back this next episode. I'm giving you some more on the racer.
Yeah,
That is for sure.
So that's our challenge this week. And for closing, something I didn't bring it up last episode because I kind of forgot, but I've been reading a Rattlesnakes of the United States book. And in said book, there's a quote in there that I kind of want this podcast to live by. So I kind of want to close on this every week or every time we do the episode. That's the other thing. I think we figured out a schedule for this. We're going to be on every other week doing an episode. 1 week will be Flippin Tin. Next week will be the Herpetoculture podcast with me and Justin. So just keep that in mind. I think we're going to be on an every other week schedule because a lot of people want to hear more. But so
before you get to your closing statement, because I already know it's going to be good, and there's no point to get back into anything. So before we get into this closing statement, you guys don't forget, message in about the hats, the shirts, the Flippin Tin Instagram pages where you're going to want to message into that. And not only that, but next episode we are going to be going over the contest or the little challenge that we just gave everyone. And we're going to be having our first surprise guest to go over some of their herping and field experiences. So you're going to want to tune in for our first surprise guest. And right now, Jake is about to close it out with some really sick shit. So listen up.
Listen up. And with that whole guest thing, when we have guests on, we're not going to tell you. So
surprise.
It's gonna be a surprise every week. We're not going to announce it like everybody else does. We're going to be like, all right, we got a guest lined up. Make sure to tune in if you want to hear it first. Yep. So we're not going to tell y'all who it is now. We already have the person lined up. So you can find out in 2 weeks when we do the episode.
Tune in.
But with that said, this has been episode 2 of Flippin Tin. And I just want to close on this statement. Okay. When it comes to field herping, look and you will see, read and you will learn, think and you will know. Those are the words that we want this show to live by. And always remember that. And that is a quote from Rattlesnakes of the U.S.
So Flippin Tin, baby. That goes hand in hand with Flippin Tin.
Get out and flip some tin, baby. Never know if you don't go.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in and for the live chat. And if you're listening to this at a later date, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of y'all. We love y'all. Hit us up if you want some merch.
Thank you.
Good night, y'all.
Peace.